Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in this video today, we're going to be talking about Gen Z versus Millennials style. This is a discussion around the different styles that different generations have had in the past, or these two in particular, and sort of what really categorized and what sort of overall interior design styles became really popular amongst those two generations, as well as sort of having some fun around some sort of individual play on, you know, the millennial version of some of the current Gen Z trends that we're seeing all over TikTok. Now, if you're a boomer or Gen X, I'm sorry, I don't have to tell you you're not included in this video, which for Gen X, I feel like makes sense, you know, because you're used to just being ignored. So I think that that's par for the course to just ignore you in this video. And then for boomers, I think you're just happy not to be discussed, to be honest with you. And I can already sum up your style. Okay, it was Tuscan Kitchen. Okay, there's your style. I already nailed it for you. So let's talk about Gen Zs and Millennials. Let's get going. So first, let's talk about Millennials, which is characterized as anybody born between 1980, 81, and sort of 1996. I myself am born in the early 80s, which makes me what they sometimes have called a geriatric millennial, which is a term that I do not care for. I do not care for it one bit, but it's thrown around. I've also heard elder millennial being thrown around. Okay, this is like your BuzzFeed generation. We're the millennials, and that's just who we are. We came of age in the new millennium, so we remember life before the internet, life after it. And our design styles of choice were mid-century modern, Scandinavian, and boho. Yes, you may have liked something different, good for you, but for the most part, those three styles just had a chokehold on this generation. We loved mid-century more than anybody else. And that was because we were responding to our parents who liked more traditional styles and maybe even transitional styles. And so we wanted something pared down and minimalist and something that, you know, felt a little bit like more simple style furniture, right? So we looked to the 50s and 60s and really took those design styles and took them to heart, and we loved it. And that was kind of our own particular style, as opposed to Gen Z, which, as I have said in videos past, like this one over here, is it here? I think so. I've been on YouTube for years. I still don't know where to point. Anyway, Gen Zs, their style is more postmodern. So look to something like Emma Chamberlain's home, which she did an Architectural Digest tour. She's kind of the queen of all Gen Zs as far as I'm concerned. At least I've been told by Eden, who works for me, who is a Gen Z and loves Emma Chamberlain, that she's kind of the queen. And you know what? Her style is very postmodern. It's very Kelly Wearstler. It's irreverent, it's interesting, it's unique, everything's funky, everything's weird, and weirdness is kind of the point. Opposite of sort of the streamed down minimalist styles that we saw the millennials went crazy for. So that's kind of the styles that I think have been really, really popular, and that's what have been trending and will continue to trend, not because the other styles are bad, but just because, you know, as generations move forward, everybody wants to make their own stamp on things and do something weird and interesting. And that's all that Gen Z is doing. They're sort of rebelling against kind of the stark minimalism and the simple, basic sort of forms that we saw with mid-century modern, and replacing it instead with a lot more color, a lot more kind of interesting sculptural shapes, and, you know, thrifted and vintage pieces, because I don't know if you've seen the economy lately, but this generation has less money than previous generations gone past. No offense, just a fact, those are the numbers. And so thrifted and vintage have become super popular, and that's kind of the style that you're really seeing coming through. Not Emma Chamberlain though, that girl is loaded. She's just good to go. She doesn't need to do that. Okay, so those are those styles. That's kind of the big picture sort of interior design styles that are really trending. Now I thought it'd be fun. Let's discuss some individual pieces of what we're seeing super trendy and hot right now in Gen Z style, and then trip down memory lane, like talk about how the millennial version of whatever that one was, because sometimes it's really easy to look at new things and go like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe this is trending. And then you realize all the stupid stuff that we did. And that's what we're going to talk about. So, you know, let's do a little millennial versus Gen Z. Not that we need to do that because, you know, we're all lovely and we don't need to put generations against each other, but just to see the millennial version of the current hot trends from Gen Z. Okay, so let's talk about what is hot and trendy from Gen Z. And that, of course, is going to be the mushroom lamp. The mushroom motif everything is everywhere. It is all over social media. The Gen Zs love the mushrooms. I don't personally get it. You know, some of this is a little bit cottagecore and some of this is a little bit more just like the shape of a mushroom, but they seem to really love it. They loved putting it in their decor. And I'm gonna have to say that the millennial version of this is the gold pineapple. If you are a millennial, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The gold pineapple, we're talking the all white serene space and then this one weird gold pineapple in the middle. It was 99% sure it was from West Elm. If not, it was from Home Goods, because Home Goods 3 years later decided that it was really cool and decided to put it in their shops too. This is 100% a West Elm item. Listen, gold pineapples were fun, right? It was just this trend in sort of well, not Scandi, because there's nothing Scandi about this, but there was sort of a trend, I think, amongst millennials to have these like serene, white, calm spaces, but then to have really shiny, bold, gold objects. And the gold pineapple, I think, is the quintessential version of this. You know, just as the gold pineapple is looking a little dated right now, I honestly think the same thing is gonna happen to these mushroom lamps that the Gen Zs are putting in. So, you know, have fun with it right now in 2024, kids, because you know what? In about 7-8 years, they're not gonna be as cool, and they will most certainly be the gold pineapples of tomorrow. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about the wonky checkerboard versus the Chevron. So, I have talked about the wonky checkerboard, the pastel checkerboard. I'm not talking about your timeless black and white checkerboard tile in a laundry room, okay? That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I've said on record that I believe that is a timeless look. I think that is great, that is wonderful, fine, fine, fine. We're talking about all the weird, kooky Gen Z interpretations, especially the DIYs that they have for these checkerboard patterns. We're talking the pastel blues, we're talking the pastel pinks, maybe the yellows, right? Those seem to be the most, maybe the pastel greens, right? Pretty much anything in pastel in a checkerboard, maybe even DIY'd into a coffee table, maybe a side table, maybe it's in an art print, maybe it's in a rug, maybe it's in a blanket, maybe it's in whatever the hell you want it to be this week. You know what I mean? And then our version in the millennial, come on millennials, we have to talk about the Chevron. We were in love with Chevrons. I personally have always thought on flooring, I prefer herringbone. I think it's a more timeless pattern. The Chevron's just a little bit too linear for me. But the Chevron was everywhere. Chevron tile, Chevron wallpaper. I mean, the amount of Chevron busy wallpaper that millennials put up peel and stick in their rental apartments. Wowza, Amazon sold a lot of those, I think, and Wayfair sold a lot of those rolls of stick-on wallpaper. The Chevron pattern was everywhere. We had it, of course, in pillows. We had it in the same places that you see the checkerboard. Again, that's kind of the point of this video. They're all stupid. Trends are all kind of a little bit stupid. It always felt trendy. They always kind of looked a little bit stupid. And we knew that at the time. And you know what? That's part of what makes youth fun, is that you can kind of experiment and do all these weird, stupid things. And they look dumb, but you don't know it's dumb because you don't have the life experience to know that it's stupid. And then in time, you look back and go, God, wasn't I stupid? And that's part of the fun. That's the beauty of aging. Hopefully you get to enjoy looking back at yourself and thinking, gosh, I was stupid. And that's exactly what's gonna happen with these pastel checkerboards. Okay, next up, we've got the Gen Z is going to be blob. The Gen Zs love blobs. I don't know what's causing this. Is this organic shaped stuff? Like we're seeing lots of organic shapes in mirrors and different art pieces and sculptural pieces and stuff. I don't know, but there was just, everything's a blob now, right? The coffee tables are blobs and, you know, the side tables are blobs and even the couches are blobs, which a couch is a really big investment. So don't get a blobby couch. But like, this is also, you know, the curve trend. This is a lot of trends coming together in the form of blobs. And I have to say that the millennial version has got to be, the shape of choice has got to be the hexagon. Hexagons had a chokehold on millennials 7-8 years ago. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? The hexagon tiles. It was always like we just went in and we're like, we're gonna redo our bathroom. What are you thinking? I'm thinking hexagon tiles. That's gonna be my plan. Kitchen tiles, hexagon tiles. Every millennial that was able to do a renovation, I feel like in the last 15 years, decided to put in hexagons somewhere in that renovation. They could be white, they could be black. It didn't matter. Maybe if you were fancy, they could be marble, but we just love hexagon pattern. And I feel like the millennials love the hexagon the same way that the Gen Zs love a blob. Do I like either of these shapes? Not really. They weren't my preference. I don't buy into either of these shapes, but I have to admit though that there is definitely similarities between these two trends, between these two generations. I will also add here, I think it's really important to note that the reason that these two shapes I think are trendy is, again, speaking to those overarching sort of interior design styles that are popular between those two generations, right? So for millennials, you've got that nod to geometric shapes, quite similar to the Chevron, lots of clean, simple, sort of harsh angles that you saw in their designs and their patterns, and you just see that over and over again in millennial style. And then you've got this organic, weird, wavy, kooky, who really knows what's going on sort of Gen Z style, which makes sense for blobs. So I think that's really just the trend of the overall interior design styles and what's working, and then that feeding through into some of the shapes and patterns that are used. Okay, and we have to talk about the Gen Z trend is gonna be the squiggle cups and the squiggle everything, and sort of everything being squiggly. And then, especially the cup, we're gonna talk about that, as decor especially. And then we had the millennial version, which you knew it was coming. Maybe you didn't, maybe you forgot, maybe you like to think you forgot. Mason jars. Okay, mason jars. Oh, the amount of weddings that we've been to that we have seen mason jars. Oh, they were fun, weren't they? Gosh, we just loved mason jars. This really is the nod to the farmhouse, I think, aesthetic, but the millennial version, because millennials didn't necessarily, I don't know if they were necessarily the ones that were super bought into the farmhouse. Yeah, we were, now that I think about it. You know what, we were. We were the ones, we did love the farmhouse. We might not have lived, laughed, loved our way through it, but we sure as hell loved a mason jar in the process. And I gotta say that the squiggle cup is gonna look just as stupid, but it's, again, tied to that sort of really out there postmodern style that we're seeing so popular. This feels a little juvenile for me, I'm not gonna lie, so I think it will date, but as kind of a lot of things do. But I would still say that, yeah, the millennial version was the mason jar. Thankfully, that trend hopefully has long since died, along with the rest of farmhouse. I think we've made fun of it enough that it's finally gone. Maybe it's morphed into organic modern, but mason jars, which, you know, let's not forget, are originally for canning and not for, you know, wedding tables. That's where I hope that mason jars stay. And God, this just had a chokehold on us, didn't it? And now it's completely done. And don't we feel a little bit silly that we so bought into this? Okay, here we go. Let's talk about the foam mirror versus the millennial basket pendant. I'm not saying, I don't hate a basket pendant. I'm just gonna say it. I don't still hate it. You know, like, it's fine. Here's the thing with the basket pendant. This is, we're not talking about necessarily the center leg from IKEA, although obviously we've seen that 100 times. I think it's fine. I think a lot of people really like it. It's cool, basket pendant, woven, whatever. But we're really talking about the DIYs. Okay, we're really talking about the DIYs here. So these are the cheesy DIYs that both of, because you know, we're all young, we don't have any money, and we're just like, well, you know what, I can make it myself. And then you realize, wait, no, I can't. Actually, other people are better at making things than I am because I'm, I don't know, an accountant or I'm a barista. Like, I'm not good at making furniture. That's an expert skill that someone else has and not me. Some things can be DIY'd and they're fun, but sometimes they feel really disposable. And I'm sorry, but these foam mirrors are just a travesty. I mean, those are completely awful. Taking a construction material and then putting foam on it and then painting them, of course, the same pastel pink and yellow that you used on that checkerboard before. This is peak Gen Z, as far as I'm concerned. This is peak DIY, TikTok, you know, TikTok trending things that just never should have really happened. And the same is true for some of the basket pendants. Now, again, there are some cool basket pendants, I think, that are out there that can be totally fine. They're an affordable way to sort of have a pendant in your home. I think they're fine. But the amount of woven baskets that we all thought that we could just turn upside down, shove a light bulb in, always an Edison bulb, of course, and then hang from the ceiling. Who are we kidding? Who are we really kidding here? I mean, this was fun while it lasted. I think people had a really good time. Someone came up with the idea and thought this was genius. It's probably Lone Fox, let's be honest, or maybe the Sorry Girls. And then it just like went into every millennial's home. And that was just what we did. And the same thing will happen, I think, to foam mirror. Those ones I think are even worse though, because those are just like destined for the landfill. I don't think, in defense of millennials, that the basket pendants are that bad. And at least they were inspired by something that's actually like you can buy and is actually looks decent in stores and can style and whatever. I'm gonna defend the millennials on this one. And you know, we had a lot of ugly things on this list, as you can tell, but this one wasn't so bad. But sometimes baskets should just be baskets and pendants should just be pendants and never the two shall meet. Okay, and here we go. Gen Z trend is gonna be these neon LED light strips, and the millennial version has got to be twinkle lights. Okay, so the neon lights, these are the exposed, bright, incredibly neon sort of light strips that people are putting in their rooms. And you know, I get it. They're cheap on Amazon. They're not that, I understand. But do they need to be hot pink? Do they need to be blue? Do they need to be green? You know, like, I think sometimes give me a nice warm white light. You know, call me old fashioned, like the geriatric millennial that I am, but call me just a nice warm, just a warm white. Like, why do we need hot pink? Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's flattering on anybody. It's not flattering on anybody. So I get it, it's fun, and you're 18. And so you wanna just kind of like play around in your bedroom or whatever. Maybe you're not 18, maybe you're 14. I don't even know. Where are you at in 18, to be honest with you? You still feel like you're kind of, you're pretty young, and therefore I will excuse this behavior. But okay, cool. So you've got these neon lights. Here's how we should be doing neon lights, in my opinion, okay? They should be recessed. You shouldn't see the strips. It's kind of like hair extensions, you know? Like, you shouldn't really see stuff you shouldn't see. And I think that the LED strips is gonna have to be the same for me. You should just have them recessed, you should have them covered, and they should just emit sort of a nice, beautiful, soft glow, preferably not in hot pink. That's how I think the LED light strips should be done. I think they're fine. I think they're great under cabinet lighting, under the kick in a kitchen or something like that. Awesome, awesome. And yeah, if you wanna do your room in them, fine, but they shouldn't really be seen. And they, in my opinion, should pretty much always be white unless it's like a Halloween party and you're putting them in orange, in which case fine. Now, but let's talk about the millennial version, which is the twinkle lights. We went crazy with the twinkle lights. They were everywhere. Again, everyone likes to have fun with lighting. I'm not sure it should necessarily feel like it's raining lighting kind of in your own bedroom. But again, we were young, we were silly. We didn't know what we were doing. I still think though that some like cute little twinkly lights can be really nice for outdoors. I think they're less successful indoors. My tip to the millennials that still have this, I think it can be fine to create a really beautiful sort of, you know, kind of, you got your landscaping out there, you got your cute little pots, you got your own little side chair there, you got a side table, maybe a lounge, maybe a patio space. Oh, how lovely for outdoors. And then you put some twinkle lights out there along with some other lighting sources, I think they could work really well for outdoor. I think our mistake was when we took it indoors. I think it's when we took it inside the bedroom that it started to get a little bit out there. And that's where we should have left it, is out on the patio, not inside the bedroom. Or, by the way, call me also crazy, maybe we should have left this for Christmas. You know, maybe this was a once a year special few weeks that we had, and then for the other 49 weeks out of the year, we could have maybe just stuck to lamps. Again, we could have just used lamps, not twinkly lights. Leave those for the 3 weeks in Christmas. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's it for me for today, you guys. Sound off in the comments. Who do you think had better trends, Millennials or Gen Z? We all did stupid things. And this is part of the fun of design, right? We get to experiment, play, have a little bit of fun, and then look back later and be like, gosh, we look stupid. In the same way we look back at clothing choices we made 15 years and thought we were stupid. I can tell you the clothing choices you're making now, Gen Z, ain't gonna look so awesome in a decade, but that's part of the fun of youth, so enjoy it while it's here. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks a lot. Bye.